Hello world, welcome to NetMother Tech Academy. Today we are going to learn how to make an Hangman game. It's another Python episode. So let's dive into it. This is how the final project is going to look like. We have a word. The current word is spoosh, 5-letter word. So we see 5 dash here, and this is the Hangman. So we can make our guess by entering the letter. I'm going to hit the key A. So A becomes an unsuccessful guess, and hence we see a line here. And now let's try to enter E. That's another unsuccessful guess. And now let's try O. And we see O is filled here, and we do not see any progress in the hangman. And we can continue this way. And if we make all wrong guesses, we will see the hangman is slowly progressing, and then the game will end. So we can hit the circle to restart, and the new word that has been generated is blues. So if I enter the correct word, ELEWS, it says you have won, and hit the black circle to restart. That's pretty much what we are going to do today. So let's get started. So we have a plain replit to start with. Let's make a class for our hangman. Let's start by defining the init method. And for this init method, we are going to pass the word, which is going to be our game word, right? So let's set it in self.word. And as we saw in our demo, we are going to hold the actual word in an array, but split it to separate characters. And we are going to have another list to hold the slashes, empty slashes. So let's make these lists. So we're going to call the first list the word list, which is going to be for I in length of the word. So for all characters in the word, we are going to take each character. So this way we will be able to make a list by separating it. And the next list we are going to call the guess list, or which is where we actually play the game, and it's going to be empty slashes. And how many are we going to have? We are going to have for the total length of the word. We don't even need a variable there. We just want to loop, so let's leave it empty. So let's first check to see if this is working. Let me make an object for this hangman. It is going to be an instance of the class, and my word is going to be programming. And let me print my word list, my guess list, and confirm if everything is working. So based on my word, I can see my word list and guess list have been formed. Let's try with a smaller word. So my word list has 5 characters, and my guest list also has 5 elements, 6 elements actually, 1 dash for every character in the word. Good. Now that is done, we also need to keep track of all the guesses that the player is making. So let's make an empty list for it. And we also need to keep track of how many guesses he has made. So let's start the guess count, and let's start with 0 for now. Perfect. That's all we wanted to do at the initialize function. And now let's actually go into the a HangMan check word function. So for this function, I'm going to pass the guess character, whatever alphabet that the user guessed. So what are we supposed to do here? We are gonna check if this guess is actually not, we don't need the keyword, is not in self dot past guesses. So did he guess this alphabet before? If not, I'm going to add it in there. That's good. Perfect. Now, what if this guess was already there? Meaning you have trying to guess the same alphabet as you did before. I'm just going to simply return, right? Because we don't want the user to try to guess the same character twice and increase the guess count or anything. Perfect. Good. Now, what is our next thing that we want to do? We want to see if this character is actually a valid guess, meaning is this character in our word? So we can do that by looping into the list. And for this, I'm going to use the enumerate. So I take the index, I take the character in our self dot word list after enumerating it. So this way I will have access to both the character and the index because I need the index to access the same position in my guess list. So if the guess is actually equal to the character, what do I do? In my self dot guess list for the same position, I'm going to fill it with the character. Okay, good. Now that is done. What else do we want to do? Now let's first try to check if all of this is working fine. So our word here is Python. So let me call the check word function and let me pass the character A. So A is actually not present in our word. So we should basically not see any change. Perfect, good. But what if I am missing the letter O? I can see that in my guess list, O has been updated at the correct position. Even if my word has two O's, then both of them will get updated because we are looping into all the characters. Perfect. Everything seems to be working at this point. Now, if the guess that the user has made did not, or it was not a valid guess, and also it was not part of the past guess, then we need to increase the guess count. If the guess is a proper guess, then we don't have to increase the guess count. The guess count is going to help us to draw our hangman. So which level of hangman is he currently in? So we want to know whether the guess was valid or not. So I'm going to create a variable result, and if a valid guess was made, I'm going to make it true. If result was false after the loop, then I'm going to increase the guess count by 1. So if you make a bad guess, then we know that we need to draw the next stage of HangMan. I'm going to return a result here, just in case if the caller needs it, because this result variable is not part of the object itself. Okay, that much is done. I think this is good enough for us to now play the game internally. So let's try to play the game. So let's do a while true loop, and then let's ask the user to input and enter your guess. And then all we have to do is call the function check word and pass the guess. And we need to print the current characters. Okay, let's run it and check. Now let's also print the past guesses to see if it's working good. So I'm trying to guess A. So my word is remaining the same. My guess list is the same. And I have added A into my past list. Now I guess O. And now O also goes into my past guess. Now here there is an option of removing O from the past guess if we have to, because we already can see it here. It was a successful guess. Do we want to keep track of all the past guesses, or do we want to keep track of only the unsuccessful guesses? So if the guess was actually successful, we can take the effort to actually remove it from the past guess by doing this, if that's required. For now, let me comment it. So let's continue our game here. If I guess Y, if I guess T, and G, which is a bad guess. Okay, everything seems to be working now. Now, how does the game actually end? The game should end if our guess list dot count of slash is equal to 0. That means we can print and say you have 1, and we can break from the loop. Good. I'm not going to print the word list. We don't need it every time. So let's stop and run this. So I guess P, Y, T, H, O, N. So it says you have 1. Or the other condition could be if HN dot guess count becomes greater than or equal to 7, that means I have utilized all the possible guesses. Then I can print and say you have lost, and we can break the loop. So now if I print the guess count, so if I run this, now if I guess P, it was a successful guess, so my guess count didn't increase. Let's guess A, it was an unsuccessful guess, so it is increasing. So now if I try to guess A again, it will not increase my count, or it will not affect anything. But if I keep making wrong guesses, I have reached the count of 7, meaning I have made all these guesses, a total of 7 wrong guesses. So it says you have lost. Perfect. Now we come to the part of the word. We don't want the word to be fixed to Python. We want to pick up a random word every time. So let's make a file here to store all our words. And what we can do here is we can put in a bunch of words here. Okay. Okay, so now we have a bunch of words in there. So now let's see how we can pick up the word from here. Okay, good. So to do that, what we are going to do is we are going to, at the time of init, okay, first of all, let's give the option for the user to pass an empty word. At the time of init, if the length of the word is actually equal to 0, which means the empty word was passed, or we can actually check less than or equal to 3. So to play the game, at least we need a 3-letter word. In that case, what we are going to do is we are going to pick a word from the file. So let's write a function to do that. So what is this function gonna do? This function is going to open the file and it's going to read through each line in the file, and it's going to get all the words by splitting it at the comma. Okay, that's good. Now I have all the words. Now we want to put all the words in a list. So let's make a word list, or let's call it word collection. It's empty list. And what we are going to do is for word in words, we are going to put it inside the word collection. And let's print the word collection and see if everything works good. So if the word that we pass is the length of the word is less than or equal to 3, then we are going to assign self.word to whatever this function returns. So we should actually return the word. So let's import random and let's return one of the words from there. So let's use our random.choice from the word collection. Okay, let's now run it and see. So for this to work, we need to pass an empty word or not pass any word. So what have we got here? We have got the words here, but we are getting these double quotes as well, which we don't want. So before we actually append the word, we should do the necessary things like word is equal to word. String. So that will remove the word. So now let's try to run it one more time. We also need to remove the first and the last character. So word is equal to word. So start from one and end one before. So that will remove the double quotes here, or we could also make a list without the double quotes. Either way should be fine. So now let's run it and see. So now our word list looks good, but it's not being picked up by our word list here. Okay, that's because we are using word there. It should be self dot. Okay, good. So now if I run it, it should automatically pick a word here. So now let's see what is wrong. The error is from line number 51. Here again, you need to do self dot word. Okay. So the random word that has been picked up is laptop. If I stop and run it one more time, again laptop. Okay. Now it's happy. That's good. So it's randomly picking up different words. Okay, that's good. Let's try to add one more word and see if everything looks good. Okay, now Python has been picked up. Okay, everything seems good now. We still have the possibility to pass our word here if we want. If we do pass our word here, at least 4 characters, then that's the word that we need to pick. Okay, that's good. So we have given the flexibility to pass the word or let the class generate a word for us. So we have tested the class. Now we go to the second part, which is to make a UI for it. So let's go ahead. Let's comment out all piece of code here, and let's rename this file to HangMan, and let's create a new file, main.py. Okay, good. So in our main.py, we are going to import HangMan, which is what we just wrote, and we also going to import turtle. Okay, so the first part we are going to do is to draw the HangMan. Let's see how we can do it. So I'm going to make a turtle. I'm going to call it T turtle dot turtle. Let's make the speed max. Let's hide the turtle. Let's put the pen up for now. And now let's try to draw the HangMan. Let me simply do a forward 100. I actually want the pen down for this, so let's test this. Okay. Good, perfect. So that should give us one line. So we want, so let's also not hide the turtle. So we started from here and we have moved forward. And now what we have to do is we need to draw a straight line up. If you remember, if we keep making wrong guesses, So that is how we want our turtle to be. So we have drawn this line. Now we want to come back to the middle and go up. So I'm gonna do, so let's call this as stage 0, or which is the first stage. And in stage 1, we want to come back half of it, and we want to set the header to look up, and then we want to go forward, let's say by 200. So now we'll draw the line, we'll come back and we'll go up. So everything looks good till now. And for stage 2, we want to set the header to look left, and we want to go forward, let's say by 50, and we want to go down a little bit. So we set the header to look down, and we go forward by another 50. So let's see if everything looks good. Okay, looks good. Now we see all the measurements are multiples of 50. So we can actually make this more generic by creating a variable here called scale and setting the value to 50. So I'm going to replace this 100 by scale times 2, 50 by scale, 200 by scale times 4, scale, and scale. So now HangMan is going to look the same, but if for some reason I want a smaller HangMan, I can just change the scale here. So everything should still work. Perfect. So next thing we want to do in the next stage is to draw the head, which is going to be a circle. Before I do that, I'm going to look left, and then I'm going to draw a circle of radius, let's say scale. So let's see how that looks. Okay, so we probably will be better to draw half the size. Okay, that's much better. And in the next stage, I want to now look down. So set header to 270. I want to take my pen up. I want to go forward by scale. After that, I want to put my pen down and then go forward by scale. So now let's see how that looks. Okay, that looks good. And for stage 5, I'm going to do a right turn by 30, and I'm going to go forward by scale by 2 and come back the same distance and do a left turn by twice the amount, so it will be symmetric, and then I'll do the same. So I should see the legs now. Okay, that looks good. Now if I increase the scale, everything should still work. I should see a bigger HangMan. Okay, looks good. Now for stage 6, I want to look up. So set header to 90. I want to go forward by scale times 2, let's say. And then I want to look down and copy this logic of how we drew the legs to draw the hands as well. So now let's see if everything looks good. Okay, good. Maybe I can go up a little bit more. Okay, that's looking a little bit better. And for the final stage, I'm going to again set header to look up, and then I'm going to go forward by scale, and then I'm going to write that. So now let's see how that looks. Stop and run one more time. Okay, so I actually want to do my pen up at this point, and I don't want to go that far. Okay, good. I'm going to set header to look right. I'm going to go forward by scale times 0.5. So I'm just trying to center the word. Let's see if that works. Oh, no. I had to go lesser than that. So let's see now. Okay, good. That is much better. Now I can hide the turtle, increase the speed. Now everything will happen faster. Good. So now we know how to draw the hangman, and we also have different stages. If you remember in hangman.py, we have the guess count. So that's going to help us determine what stage we are at. So now let's make this into a function called draw hangman. And let's pass the stage variable in here. So let's move the code inside the draw hangman, and let's add conditions to make sure we skip based on the stage. So if the stage value is less than 1 at this point, I'm going to return. So I will not draw any of those things below. So we can do the same at all the other stages. This can probably be done a little bit more efficiently, but we have kept the whole drawing hangman in a single function. We are trying to work around it. Let's quickly complete this. So based on whichever stage we are at, we can return. So, but every time we actually want to start from the beginning. So we have to clear whatever we did before. We have to pen up, and we have to go to the center of the stage and then pen down. So that way we will be able to call this function and don't have to worry about where the turtle's current position is. So now let's quickly check this function. So I say stage 0. So it should just give me one line. If I say stage 1, it should give me just this two. If I say stage 4, then it will give me the fourth stage. And 7 is the last stage, which is when we will see the full hangman. Nice. Now that we have used turtle to drop the hangman, all that is pending is to connect the game in here. So let's do that. We already know how the game runs, so we can bring in this logic in here. So we have imported it as hangman. We have to say hangman dot hangman, and every time there is an increase in the guess count, we can draw the hangman. So let's draw hangman at hm dot guess count. So now let's see how this works. So the word that we have is laptop. So I'm gonna guess E. So my count is increasing. So my hangman is also increasing. I'm gonna give a proper guess, which is L. So my hangman does not look good. So now let's see what we missed. So when I made the guess L, my hangman count is still L. So I should have called the hangman function again with guess count 1. So it should have first cleared the stage, and should have gone to the center of the stage and should have drawn, should have repeated the same hangman. So now let's see what went missing. Let's try that one more time. A proper guess, a bad guess, and then a proper guess again, and something seems to be wrong. So now let's test this by calling the hangman function a couple of times. So I call the hangman with 0, and then let me put an input statement in between, and then hangman with 1 again, and hangman with 2 again. And let's stop and run this and see. Okay, something seems to be going wrong. So when I call the hangman again with stage 2, I should have done a clear. I'm going to try and make the variables global here to make sure that we are referring to the same variable in the same scale. Let's try that now. Okay, still no luck. So let's see what we missed. When the stage went 2, we cleared, and then we did a pen up, and we did a go to, and I have a feeling it could be because we did not set the direction to right. Let's try that one more time. Okay, now it's much better. So every time when we start drawing the hangman, we require that the hangman not only be at 0 position, but should be facing right. So now that this is out of the question, let's run this one more time now. So R a proper guess, W a wrong guess, Q a wrong guess, T a proper guess. So Y a wrong guess, U a wrong guess. So we have lost. Okay, everything looks good. Now all that is pending to make the game completely playable inside the screen is to accept the guesses not through the console but inside the turtle window. So we don't want input statements, but we want to be able to listen to the screen for any key presses. So let's make the screen variable, and we are going to do the necessary to listen to the screen, and we are also gonna call the main loop so the control remains with us. And all that we have to do now is to make a function for each key. Let's make a function called key A, and whenever the key A is pressed, what do we have to do? All we have to do is call the function hm, and whatever the guess comes here, which is okay, this is actually going to be the letter A, so A has to be called. We need to make sure we are working with the same variable, so I make it a global variable. And now all I have to do is connect the key with the screen. So screen dot on key, the function is going to be key A and the letter is going to be A. So now let's run this and check. So let's click here and press A. Okay, so now we also have to print these things here so we see if everything is working fine. So let's stop and run this one more time, and now I press A and I see everything is working here, just that my screen is not doing anything because I'm not drawing the hangman. Okay, so let's draw the hangman with the guess count 0, and then inside the key also let's draw the hangman. Okay, good. So now when I press A, everything looks good because A is a proper guess. Now all we have to do is do the same for all the other keys. But is there a way we can make this general? So let me make a function here called any key and pass the guess here. And all I have to do is same as this, but instead of A, it will be guess. Now, when the letter B is pressed, I need to call the key any and pass the variable B. So let's test that. And now if I press A, everything works. If I press B, no, it's, let's stop and run this one more time. And we see that B is already added in the pass guess because the function that we attach here cannot accept an argument. It can only accept a function. So all that we have to do is make sure it is a function by making it a lambda. Now, lambda will make this a function and will only call it when the key B is pressed. So now let's try this one more time. So now we see that B is not part of the previous guesses. Now if I hit B, B comes up. A is a proper guess, so everything works. Now all that we have to do is do the same thing for all the other characters too. So just to save time, I have it all typed here and I'm just gonna paste it here. So here we see that the lambda function is being called for all the characters. Now we can actually get rid of this code, and all we have to do is pass it with A. Now we have captured all that we want to do. Now we can actually play the game. I can guess R, E, E, everything is proper guess. Once I start making bad guesses, I can see my hangman is being drawn. Now all that is left is, instead of printing here, we need to print it on the screen. So let's make a turtle to write the output on the screen. And I'm going to hide the turtle. I'm going to set the speed to 0 so it's fast. And now all we have to do is, whenever we write something on the screen, we should write it with the turtle. So let's also put the pen up so it doesn't draw any lines. And let me make this turtle go to a particular location. Okay, and then let's each character in hm.guessList. Let's write the character and then go forward a bit. So let's see if that works. I should actually press a character for it to get triggered. So let's see, let me press A. Okay, I see it here, but I actually want this to happen even the first time. So we can probably put this out as well. So then the player knows how many characters he's working with. That's good. We will have to also move the location of the turtle. Okay, good. We forgot the for loop. Okay, this has to be outside the loop. Okay, good. So let's stop and run this one more time. So we are working with a 6-letter character, and now let's type the character P Y. We need to clear everything before we do it. So let's do rewrite dot clear. So whatever was there before goes away. Now NETMA. So that way we see all the characters. We can use a similar approach to draw, to write the past guesses as well, because this is something we need to show on the screen as well. So let's copy this whole thing and put it again here, and let's move this a little bit down and just change this to past guesses. So that way any guess that I make will also be visible. I cannot clear twice. So P R O A U I. So all my past guesses are visible here, and the current word that I'm working with is visible here. Let's move this below a little bit so it doesn't go closer to our HangMan actually. So that's good. Okay, so now all that we have to do is add the conditions in there to check if the game is over. We already know what those conditions are going to be. These are going to be our conditions. So we can go to the top and add the conditions. So we can return, and instead of actually printing this, we can use our write to actually show it in the screen if we have to. So now let's actually play the game. So let me try and guess MOPRTUWERC. Okay, so now at this point it says you have lost because we have used up all our guesses. Perfect. Wonderful. Thank you, everyone. I hope you were able to learn something new from this whole HangMan game with Turtle. We deliberately kept the HangMan code separates and the actual UI code separate, so we can do the UI in any library that we wanted, either tkinter or pygame. But the idea will be the same. The game loop, all we need is the game loop to check if the word is correct. And we also made a separate words file so we can keep adding new words in there. I'll share the code in the description. Thank you, everyone. I'll see you all in the next episode. If you like what you're seeing, please subscribe and show your support. Thank you. Bye, world.